Max Pruger. I've had the great pleasure of knowing Max for about 15 years now. I'm here at the Kaseya Connect IT event in Las Vegas at the MGM. It's late April 2025. Max took time out to speak with me. Puzzles. Do you know that puzzles can be over 40,000 pieces? In rooms, it fits in a room 50 feet by 30 feet. Max builds these. Quite fascinating. He opened up a bar. He's originally from the Ukraine. The parents moved over when he was 4 years old. He now does compliance at Kaseya, but like I said, I've known him for quite a while. And life insurance and finance, it's something that he has a passion for. It's a great conversation. His view on discipline was quite unique as well. Really enjoyed my time with Max Pruger. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because I was working way too much. Before you know it, I found myself 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. Took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People think there's some secret. Ask me, how'd you lose that weight? Like there's some secret. There is no secret. How'd I lose the weight? Just one word, discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends, colleagues convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision: growth through learning from others.
You're doing a 42,000 piece puzzle?
Yes.
Explain.
Big puzzles.
What's it of?
Disney. So it's got 10 different pictures of Disney characters.
Huh.
Yeah.
Are you a Disney fan?
No, I can't stand Disney, but I like big puzzles, and that's the biggest puzzle. It was the biggest puzzle in the world for a while, up until last year, so I bought it.
Dimensions.
It is probably the size of this room. It can't fit in here, so I do. I have. Once I finish them, I put them on the wall. But I don't think I have a wall big enough for it.
In this fast-paced MSP landscape, how do you stay ahead? Introducing MSPinfluencer.com, your ultimate hub for MSP news, insights, and community connection, powered by Forza Dash. More than 75,000 MSPs subscribe to our MSP Influencer Pulse weekly newsletter, staying informed and ahead of industry trends. Tune in to emerging podcasts from Joey Pinz and leading MSP voices, offering essential tips, powerful insights, and success stories. Explore our multi-authored blogs, crafted specifically for MSP leaders, delivering fresh perspectives and actionable strategies. Celebrate excellence with the industry-leading Forza Dash MSP Influencer Awards, recognizing innovation, leadership, and impact in the MSP community. Join thousands of MSP professionals who trust MSPinfluencer.com to grow their business and expand their networks. MSPinfluencer.com, where today's MSP leaders connect, collaborate, and conquer, all powered by the Forza Dash platform, helping MSP vendors work effectively with MSPs and helping MSPs grow.
Okay, we're in a room, Max. It's, 50 feet by 30 feet. You're telling me you're building a puzzle that's 50 feet by 30 feet.
It's not 30 feet wide, but yeah, it's probably about 40, 50 some odd feet long. Yeah.
And where do you do this?
Downstairs in the basement. So you do it in pieces, obviously, in sections, and then you go take a picture. I actually lay it out on the whole driveway, because I've done a 24,000 piece one. So you lay it on the driveway, and then you go up to the second floor of the house and take a picture.
And how big is each piece? Inch.
Inch, yeah, about an inch. Yeah.
42,000 pieces.
Yeah, so the pieces are the same size, regardless of whether you do 1,000 piece or 42,000 piece. It's just there's lots more of them.
Wow. And what's that cost? What's a puzzle of 42,000?
Runs you about $250, $300, but it literally takes years to do. So you definitely get your money out of it.
But if you assemble it, so you do parts of it in the basement, and then you've got to bring them up carefully. You're on plywood or something? You bring them up?
So styrofoam usually, because it's lighter. But yeah, you put on plywood. You just need to have a lot of plywood.
Wow. Yeah. So your first puzzle as a kid?
So
when'd you get into puzzling?
My dad. I used to do it with my dad. And in high school, we get up to about 2,500, 3,000 pieces.
Wow.
And then, college and stuff got in the way, and picked it back up about 15 years ago.
Have you considered making a puzzle?
No, that requires work.
You just want to build it.
That's right. I just want to build it.
And once you build a puzzle, what happens?
So typically what I do is I frame it and I put it on the wall.
You do?
So I've got some 9,000 piece puzzles on the wall. I have an 18,000 piece puzzle on the wall. That's the biggest one that I have so far. Otherwise, you break them up into much smaller sections, about a foot by foot, so 12 by 12. And then I've tried multiple techniques. So the one I'm doing today is I take masking tape and you just put it on the back, and that way you put it in sections, you put it away, and then when you're ready, you can build them out.
Patience.
When
you're doing it, do you have music on?
Usually I listen to podcasts, financial podcasts. So hours and hours and hours of podcasts, yes.
In your ear or out loud?
Typically in the ear.
Wow.
Yeah. My family doesn't want to listen to that.
No. What is it about finances you like?
Finance has always been a passion. I love insurance, life insurance. It's the greatest financial asset in the world. It is also the most misunderstood financial asset in the world. I'm a big fan of it.
So bust some myths about life insurance, please.
Oh, geez. Where's Dave Ramsey? Yes. So there's lots of myths on about life insurance. So life insurance, just a history on life insurance. Life insurance has been around for over 150 years. So life insurance has to back all of their assets by tangible assets. So they cannot practice fractional reserve banking. So for every $1 in assets, for every $1 in premium, they usually have about $1.03 in assets, like hard assets to back it up. So it is arguably the safest asset in the world. And it is how the vast majority of Americans saved before Wall Street. So if you ever watch It's a Wonderful Life. Did you ever watch the movie It's a Wonderful Life?
Of course.
Yes. So there's a scene in there where he runs in and says, hey, I don't have any money, but here's my life insurance policy. You can take it from here because it's a tangible asset. So if you look at actually through the history of life insurance, so Walt Disney, when he wanted to start Disney World, nobody would give him a loan. He had a life insurance, cash value life insurance policy. So he actually borrowed against the policy.
Wow.
And that's how Disney World got started. Same thing with Penney and Ray Kroc. McDonald's is big now, but the first couple of years in McDonald's, he couldn't afford to pay himself. So he actually borrowed against his life insurance policy. That's how he paid himself until McDonald's got successful. So from a myth perspective, Dave Ramsey says you don't get the cash value and you don't get the death benefit. He doesn't understand what they represent. So the cash value is just the equity that you built up. What you're buying is a tangible asset which is the death benefit. So you pay him X number of dollars today, you get $1 million in death benefit in 50 years. As you are paying into that policy, the value is increasing. So the cash value, it's actually called the cash surrender value. And it's literally just refers to, if I wanted to surrender this policy today, obviously if I'm 10 years old and I got $1 million policy, you may only give me $50 for that policy. But if I'm 99 years old and I have $1 million policy, you may be willing to give me 900 some odd thousand because obviously I'm getting much closer to that inevitable event. So again, that's probably myth number one is, cash value. Myth number two is buy term and invest the difference. That was literally a marketing ploy. It was created by a gentleman named A.L. Williams, who owned a term insurance life company. He wanted to sell more term insurance, so he came up with the marketing slogan, buy term and invest the difference. And it's been a colossal failure for most people.
Does the insurance company lose money if you die young or die early?
Insurance companies don't lose money.
Ever.
It's the law of large numbers and actuarial science. So they have millions of people that they insure, and because they have actuarial data, they don't know specifically which person's going to die, but they know exactly how many people are going to die next year and the year after and the year after. The year after. Yeah, so that's it's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. So example, like Mass Mutual, it's a very large insurance company. I think they celebrated their 175th anniversary. They paid a dividend for every single year that they've been in business, including through the Great Depression, through the GFC, through every war, and so on. It's a tangible asset that should be the basis of everybody's saving.
Is there
a thread between building puzzles and finance and life insurance?
So probably, because with life insurance, you have to think long-term. And when you're building puzzles, it is a long-term commitment. So typically what happens is, on these very large puzzles, it'll literally take me 5-6 years. Not because it takes that long, but you start working on it. And then this thing called life and work gets in the way. So you put it away for about 6-7 months. And then you're like, hey, you know what? I need to get back to it and start working on it again. But, of course, you don't want to miss a piece. That OCD kicks in.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating. You love that. You're more science than art kind of person.
There's like 99-1.
Really?
Yeah. Exactly.
There's one answer for everything.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I would just say that I literally cannot draw a straight line.
Yeah.
I cannot. And it's funny because my wife is very artistic and my daughter's incredibly artistic, so she definitely got it from that side of the house, but I have no art skills whatsoever.
Wow.
Yes.
So we're here in Las Vegas, Max.
Absolutely.
And we're at the big Kaseya Connect event. It's April 2025. What are some of your goals this week?
So,
Las Vegas.
Yeah, my goal for all of these events, which is really the reason I enjoy coming, is talking to customers and talking to MSPs. I mean, it's just amazing. Now with Connect and obviously DaviCon, twice a year, getting together in these large conferences and having the ability to get firsthand feedback from MSPs and what they're seeing in the industry. So it's just amazing how quickly and slowly things change. So there's certain things that are just consistent always, and then there's other things where over the course of 6 months, 12 months, you can see the dynamics of the market and the industry changing.
Are you the longest standing employee at Kaseya now?
So with Mike Sanders moving on, I always said that in the United States, all I had to do was kill Mike.
Kill Mike, right.
And I would have had seniority. Now, to be fair, there are 2 people in the UK that have been here longer than I have. So I could go and kill them.
Right.
That's a long plane ride.
It is.
It's probably just not worth it.
Sure.
I'll just wait till they kind of die off. But yes, in the United States, if you take my kind of when I started to today, I did have a 5-year hiatus where I started a software company and left for a little bit. But yes, I am the longest tenured employee at Kaseya today.
Plus, I heard those 2 UK employees have good health, life insurance.
So they don't, because you can't typically get life insurance in other countries. So the
Really?
US, the US is a very unique country. So we have the ability. Most other countries, again, we'll go into all the details. They have different types of, and I would say the other thing is not all life insurance is created equal. So most people that hate on life insurance, like Dave Ramsey, they hate on it because they are traditional life insurance policies built for the death benefit.
I see.
For new life insurance policy, when I say new, it will last like 80 years. What you're buying is actually for the living benefits. The death benefit is just a benefit. But anyway, with that being said, they're in the UK. Their health insurance is terrible. So they'll be gone soon.
And so compliance is a natural next step for you.
So absolutely. You and I, obviously, Joe, we go.
How long?
2006?
Yeah, I got Kaseya in 2007.
So I sold you Kaseya in 2007.
Yeah, you were the one who sold it.
Yeah, I know. I sold it to
Those
everybody.
2 CEOs ago. Well, now 3 CEOs.
3
ago.
CEOs ago at this point. Yep.
Yeah.
But still here. Right?
But you left and came back.
I did. I left 2015. Actually, about 2 months before Fred joined the company.
I see.
But then I came back in 2019.
Oh, he's the one who pulled you in. I remember that conversation.
He did bring me back. Yes, it's like the mafia. I thought I was out, and then they brought me back in.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'll give Mike Sanders credit because he recommended I came back, and so did Jim Lippy. So they both recommended I come back. We went back and forth for about 6 months, but once Fred made an offer, you couldn't refuse it.
Yeah, he's very persuasive.
And that is one word for it.
Yeah. Yes. And you love it because now you're doing compliance part of Kaseya for how long?
So I came back in 2019 specifically to start the compliance manager business unit. Since then, I took over VulScan, which is our vulnerability scanning product, and then Mike Mattel, who is the founder of Rapid Fire Tools, he retired last year. So I took over the entire audit and compliance suite, which we are now calling the IT Risk Management Suite. So that includes Network Detective Pro, Audit, CyberHawk, and we just rolled Vonahai vPen Test into that suite in Q1 of this year.
Oh, that's powerful.
It is indeed.
Yeah. Why do you like working with MSPs so much?
So I love MSPs. I mean, my background is IT. I graduated degree in computer science. I won't go through all the history, but in 1999, I started an MSP. We didn't know what an MSP was. We called ourselves an ASP. We were an application service provider, but the concept was exactly the same. The theory behind it was every other IT company was doing break fix. Their goals were not aligned with their customers' goals. They wanted everything to break so they can go charge them billable hours. And so we came out with it in Virginia with a theory. It's like electricity. You plug it in, you pay us a monthly fee, and we just make sure that everything works. And what that does is that aligns our interests with the customer's interests, and it allows us to scale beyond just having headcount and hours for dollars. So again, that goes back to 1999. Well, I won't go through all that. But in 2006, when I had the opportunity to come work for Kaseya, and I saw the VSA, because at the time that's primarily what we're selling, I thought, wow, this is exactly what we were trying to build way back in 1999. So I'm also, despite being at Kaseya for 20 years, I'd like to think that I'm an entrepreneur at heart. So when I see these business owners, a lot of them are small business owners. And small businesses, in my opinion, are the heart of any economy. They're the driver of growth and employment. And so it makes me happy to see small business owners successful in growing their business.
Hey, Joey Pinz here. Want to take your podcast experience to the next level? I'm excited to invite you to become a YouTube member. It's the absolute best way to support the channel and enhance your connection. Join our amazing community and unlock the incredible perks, custom loyalty badges, exclusive emojis, and priority comment replies. Your voice will always stand out. Be the first to watch new videos with early access, receive special membership shoutouts, and get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and updates. Dive into content available only to our members, special videos, deep dives, and insider perspectives. Engage directly with me. Suggest podcast topics you want to hear, and even get personalized video shoutouts. Hit the join button right now and become part of something special. Let's build this amazing community together. I can't wait to welcome you as a new member. Join the Joey Pinz family today.
Yeah, so in 2019 you start, and then the damn pandemic comes.
Yep.
What was that like launching into that?
So came back 2019. I think so. Interestingly enough, I did a webinar in February around New York Shield, because I thought New York Shield was going to be the next big compliance framework. Because if there's one thing that New York is really good at, it's finding companies, especially financial companies. And New York Shield was meant to apply to any size organization. So I thought they were going to be a large driver of compliance. And then, of course, unfortunately, New York became kind of the epicenter of COVID. And I remember I tried calling the departments and figuring out what they were going to do with New York Shield, and they're like, we're not even dealing with New York Shield. However, shortly thereafter, even during COVID, you had the Department of Defense, and they announced CMMC. So that was going to drive more compliance. And then the real big one was insurance companies. Because, again, going back to insurance, which I love, all insurance companies do is they try to calculate risk. So insurance companies were struggling to figure out how to calculate risk for cyber insurance. So they came out, what's an insurance policy? It's just terms and conditions. So you have to comply with those terms and conditions. And it says, hey, if you do these terms and conditions and you pay premium, and then an event occurs, then we'll pay out. And then of course we keep our little percentage in the middle. But they struggle to figure out how to calculate their risk. And so for organizations that needed cyber insurance, they had to comply with all of those terms. So really it was the cyber insurance organizations, in my opinion, that really drove that initial requirement for compliance.
Yeah, and your point before about how important small businesses are, we saw the MSPs be an integral part of helping those small businesses through the pandemic, right? Yeah. We saw it. I mean,
no doubt. I mean,
backbone of the world economy.
The MSPs were the heroes of COVID because the small, medium-sized businesses that had to survive I mean, it felt like it was immediately overnight where I had to if I'm a business, pretty much had to completely change my business practices, and I had to deliver my services, my products, but I had to do it from a completely remote location. So yeah, it was the MSPs that enabled all of these small businesses to set up their VPNs at their house and their Wi-Fi, and to make sure that they were able to access their SaaS applications and backup and security and so on. So the ability for them to pivot and provide value, I think it's immeasurable. If it wasn't for MSPs, I don't think the U.S. would have, or the world would have been able to maintain and continue to operate.
Max, you speak Russian?
I do, чуть-чуть, a little bit, yes.
Yeah. How come?
So I was born in Kiev.
You were?
My
Ukraine.
family, Ukraine. They spell it differently now, which is weird. Kiev, yes.
I know that.
Yes.
The war made them change the name?
The war made them change the name, because when I grew up it was Kiev, now it's like Kyve or something like that. So my parents grew up in Ukraine. In 1978, we had the opportunity to migrate out of communist Russia. And so we did. So my entire family left. I was only 4 at the time, or 3 in fact, at the time. And we kind of toured through Europe. And then we flew to Baltimore, Maryland, and I've been there ever since.
Wow. Do you remember? Have you been back?
So I have not been back. My parents went back a couple of years, well, probably about 10, 15 years ago. I haven't had the opportunity. I don't really remember it. I have some kind of memories, but I don't know if they're real or if they're just ones that I kind of made up. My brother was older. He was 7, so he remembers a lot of it.
My daughter graduates University of Maryland in a month, where you got your MBA.
That's true.
Did you hear who the commencement speaker is?
For University of Maryland? No, I did not.
Huge controversy. I don't know. It was big news about a month ago. Kermit the Frog.
Really? Well, I'm glad to know that my dollars went to good use.
I'm going to go see Kermit the Frog, I guess, next month. I'm looking forward to it. You have fond memories there at the campus, College Park?
So I went to American University for my undergraduate.
Your undergrad, yeah.
I actually liked that campus. It was very conducive for what I wanted to do. So we grew up, again, we came over from communist Russia. You weren't allowed to take anything over. So we literally came over without $1 to our name. We were sponsored for 6 months, and then my parents, my mom started a little deli, and my dad fixed cars, and I literally started working when I was about 9 years old. So I would help my parents at their deli so they wouldn't have to hire a new employee. So when I went to American University, what I liked about it was that I could cram 15 to 18 credits in 2 days. And then I literally worked 2 full-time jobs throughout my entire college experience. So I didn't have a quote-unquote college experience. But that worked out well. And then I went to Maryland's executive, they had an R.H. Smith School executive MBA program. So I actually started the first year that it was offered.
Wow.
And it was not in Maryland campus, it was in the Ronald Reagan building in downtown DC. And that was a weekend program. And I actually did that for a year. And then, as a complete and total aside, I got out of IT and I bought one of the largest liquor stores and bars and nightclubs in the state of Maryland. So I actually ran that for about 4 years. So it was a 10,000 square foot liquor store, and it was a 15,000 square foot bar and nightclub.
Wow. Yeah. What was that experience like?
Liquor store is fantastic. Everybody wants to own a bar and a nightclub until they actually own a bar and a nightclub. And it was a nice neighborhood, but it was a lower middle class working neighborhood. Everything that you could imagine that could happen in the bar and nightclub, we had it. We had riots, we had attempted shootings, we had fights all the time. So it was great money. I would not recommend it. Again, back then I was still very poor. So I literally, I bought my parents' house after I graduated, because I made more money than my parents had ever made combined. So I was paying for the mortgage, and so I took the tax deduction. But I think we took out, I second mortgaged the house, and I had over $300,000 in credit card debt. Wow. That's when we bought the liquor store. So again, the bar and nightclub was nice and made money, but I wouldn't want to do that again.
Unbelievable. Fantastic. Max, has there been anything in the last month or so you changed your mind on?
I'm pretty stubborn. So I would say no. What I do like, I like to read a lot. And I do sort of pride myself on being able to keep an open mind. So even if I don't necessarily agree with something, I do as much as I can to learn about it. So at least I can understand both sides of the argument.
Right. Yeah. Important to have perspective. Yeah. And kind of steel man, right? Versus,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Even if you don't agree, you still, that's real. Especially in these days, we see these in politics, see these people digging in. You wonder what they really believe, and I'm not sure if it really matters or anything. So it's interesting. So in 2007 we met. So I started the MSP in '93, and I was working way too much, 14-hour days, and I'm at the doctor, and she tells me I'm at 340 pounds. So when I met you, I had lost it all. Well, by 2007, it was gone, I believe.
Yep.
But she tells me if I don't lose this weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. My oldest was just born. So I was, scared the hell out of me. I'm driving home, pissed off at myself. So it took about 6-7 months, lost about 130 pounds, kept it off. You can't look at it as a finishing line, right? It's a lifelong. Have you ever had weight issues?
So slightly. By the way, you look fantastic.
Yeah.
I would have never known that.
Yeah.
As a quick aside, it's kind of funny, when I started, everything was remote when I was working at Kaseya. So I think I knew you for 3 to 4 years before I ever met you for the first time
Physically.
in person. And I think it was one of the connects that we had there.
Sure was. Yeah.
So I would say I've never had large, massive weight issues. I did have surgery on my knee, and it actually happened. I had multiple surgeries on my knee, but the last one I did was literally in 2019, and it was right before COVID.
Jeez.
And so surgery on the knee, COVID hit, I stopped going outside, I stopped traveling. So I did, I probably gained about 30 pounds more than I should have. And it was the heaviest I'd ever been. But then I do carnivore now. So fatty red meat and water. And I dropped about 35 pounds.
Yeah, making those weight.
Yeah.
Want to show your love for discipline, inspiration, and the Joey Pinz podcast? Now's your chance. Introducing the brand new Joey Pinz merch store, where style meets discipline. Choose from premium apparel, cozy hoodies, stylish hats, durable bags, and your new favorite coffee mug, all featuring the iconic Joey Pinz logo. Perfect for podcast fans, discipline enthusiasts, or as unique gifts for friends and family. Every purchase supports the Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations podcast, helping us continue to inspire greatness and promote positive change. Visit joeypins.com/store today and wear your discipline proudly. Joey Pinz merch. Wear it, share it, and live it.
So when I tell that story, Max, to people, they always say, "What's your secret? What you do?" And there's no freaking secret. Discipline. That's how I did it. Willpower, focus, etc. How does discipline play a role in your life, Max Pruger?
Yeah. So, as may have known or may have guessed, I consider myself very disciplined.
Yeah.
Again, I like to research as much as possible, so I can have as much information as I can to make as best decision as I can. But yeah, I mean, once you commit to something, you look at the goal. What's your goal? And you just work backwards from the goal. Sales works the same way. So when you do sales is just math. So there's 3 numbers in sales. So it's average sale price, what's your conversion rate, and what's the average sales cycle. So if you want to make $100,000 a month, and your conversion rate is 50%, and your average sale price is $10,000, well, then you need to have 20 leads. And it takes you 30 days. You have your 20 leads and you just kind of work backwards. So kind of everything works like that. When I tried to lose the weight, I said, okay, I'm at 185 pounds. I really should be at 155 pounds. I need to lose 30 pounds. And my goal is to do it in 6 months. So you track that progress. Anything you track, it gets better. So, it works the same with the puzzle. 42,000 pieces. I figured, you know what? If I could do about 1,000 pieces a week, then about 40 weeks.
Yeah. Do you approach everything that way?
Pretty much, yeah.
When you decided to go carnivore, why did you decide? Just is it to lose weight or just to research?
So, I tried veganism.
Did you?
Yeah. And that didn't work for me. So, again, I listen to a lot of podcasts, read as much as I can, and I don't even know how I came across it, but somebody was talking about how vegetables are trying to kill you. And I thought that was interesting, but it was a doctor. It's actually Dr. Anthony Shafee. He's got a podcast called Plant Free MD, and he said that if you look at vegetables can't run away. They don't want to be eaten, so they're filled with poison, carcinogens. So Brussels sprouts over 100 carcinogens. And so again, you look at it historically, it started to make sense, and then I started listening to testimonials, and people cured their gout, and they cured ulcerative colitis and type 2 diabetes and all this other stuff. So I figured, you know what, I'll give it a try. And I'd say the first week was probably difficult, but outside of that, I've always liked meat. So I figured, you know what, we'll do it and feel great. I don't count my calories, don't have to count macros.
Are you ever hungry?
Not really.
Yeah.
And I only do. I also do intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
So at most, I eat 2 meals a day. I had a really nice meal yesterday at the steakhouse. So I actually haven't eaten anything at all today, and we're going back to the steakhouse tonight. So I was invited for dinner there.
Are you a coffee drinker?
I am a coffee drinker.
Yeah.
That is my vice. It's black. I did try it with some butter in it.
Butter in your coffee?
Yeah, butter, coffee, fat. It's good for you.
But
I really didn't like it, so I just drink my coffee
black.
Yep.
I had never had a cup my whole life.
Coffee?
Yeah.
It's probably for the best.
Yeah, maybe.
But it's fantastic.
I think I remember vividly my mother getting off it and being like, what seemed to be months, just mean and in pain. So I think it just bruised me. And why start now?
So it is funny. I mean, I have an addictive personality. So one of the things that I try to do is about every 3 to 4 months, I'll stop drinking coffee for a month just so I can prove I can do it.
Good at you.
And then I have my first cup a month later. I'm like, why did I stop drinking this stuff? So, yeah.
What motivates you, Max?
So my family.
Yeah.
I've got 2 kids. So in fact, just did college visits. So my daughter just committed to Haverford, right outside of Pennsylvania. My son is in sophomore year, so he'll be a junior in high school next year. So they're only 18 months apart. I think part of it too is, just to be blunt, money.
Yeah.
Growing up very, very poor and just watching my parents struggle. Building generational wealth, passing a legacy on. So those things, they definitely motivate me.
So motivation, family, legacy. So how do you measure success?
So there's tactical. So tactical, obviously, you look at the bank account. How are we doing, right? Are we doing well? So that's the easy way to measure success, right? The harder way is your relationships, the friendships that you build. Again, I love coming to these events. I've been doing this I was at the first Connect in 2008, but
so
for 20 years, I know.
The bubble women.
Right
over there at the Mandalay Bay.
I do not know what you were talking about for the record, but it was amazing.
I made it up.
Yes, the Bubble Girls. Yes, I'm well aware. But yeah, I mean, you come back to these events, you see people that you haven't seen for a year, for a couple years, and you build a relationship with it. I've known Jim Lippy. I was Jim Lippy's, I think, first account manager in 2006.
Is that right?
And so, now he's the chief product officer. So, I'd like to say, I'll tell a story. So when Fred called me in 2019 in February, I was doing really well. We had started a software company. We were doing very well. We were growing that company, and Fred asked me to come back. And I told Fred, I said, the opportunity sounds fantastic. I 100% believe that compliance is the next frontier for MSPs. They're all going to have to deal with it. Granted, we're about 7-8 years early, but we knew that we were early on in the process. I said, but the timing's not right. So we're doing this other thing. And Fred, being Fred, who I absolutely amazing, he says, I think, can I use bad language?
Yeah.
Okay. So he was like, I think you're an asshole. And I said, what do you mean, Fred? He goes, because when I was talking about this opportunity, Mike Sanders said, the perfect guy for this is Max Pruger. He should come back and run this event. And then I talked to Jim, and Jim's like, Max would be fantastic for this event. He said, I talked to about 20 customers, and they all knew you. Not one person had anything bad to say about you. He goes, there's not a person on this planet who doesn't have at least one person who has anything bad to say about him. So he's like, so I think you're an asshole. I said, well, I appreciate that, Fred. That's fantastic. So
I was wondering how much of that story you're going to tell, because you told me that story before.
Oh, did I? Okay.
And I was going to say, you're going to block anything out. Yeah.
So, no, that was pretty much it. And you know, to be honest, I told Fred no.
Yeah, I know you did. Yeah.
For 6 months, and he's like, okay, I'll call you next month. And he literally called me every single month, right up until July. And he said, all right, I think you're the perfect guy for this, and I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. And he made me an offer, and I said, well, shit, Fred, I really can't refuse that. So, yeah, in 2019, the rest is history at this point.
Wow. Oh, Max, I made a list of people I wanted to talk to. You were right up there, and I'm glad they granted this. Finally, we can put this together, and thanks for your time today. I really appreciate it, man.
Joe, this is absolutely my pleasure. I love it. I'll be on every day if you want to have me here. I got plenty of stories over 20 years, so anytime you want to do this again, thank you so much.
Be well.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Max.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources, and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.